8 members of a northwest organised crime gang have been sent to prison for more than 80 years following a shooting investigation in Burnley. During the attack, which was centred around the attempt of taking £220,000 worth of cannabis from a farm on Salah Street on February the 4th, 2021, 2 men were shot. One of the victims suffered a serious head injury and vehicles were rammed. A car was later set alight in a bid to destroy evidence. Lancashire Constabulary were called at around 12:30 in the morning following reports of disorder on Wilton Street in the town where a number of individuals were seen attacking a man with weapons. A 31-year-old was taken to the hospital, and although his injuries were serious at the time, they were not life-threatening. And then, at around 1:15, police were then called to Burnley General Hospital, where the 39-year-old man was being treated for a gunshot wound to the leg. His injury was also not life-threatening. Around 4:30 in the morning, the police were called again to reports of a silver BMW estate car which had been found burnt on Melville Street. Following a 2-day sentencing hearing at Preston Crown Court, the 8 men have been sentenced to terms ranging from 27 months to 19.5 years. A police investigation, codenamed Operation Callaway, found how the organised crime gang based in Manchester were called upon for help after word got out a Burnley-based organised crime group was about to infiltrate a cannabis factory. Besim Zeka, Elion Glaver, Ibrahim Beledi and Andon Bitter travelled in convoy to the town on February the 3rd, 2021, after the Burnley organised crime gang was caught on CCTV intending to steal the plants. Arriving at around 11:50, the vehicle circled around the Salah Street area for half an hour as they lay in wait for the Burnley-based organised crime gang to begin their attack. There was CCTV footage obtained from the area which showed the people carrying weapons including sticks and saws, as well as cars belonging to members of the Manchester organised crime gang ramming other vehicles. Residents also described hearing gunshots and people saying, "They have got guns." One member of the Burnley organised crime gang suffered a head injury from the machete attack, while a fellow gang member was shot in the leg. After recovering a bullet containing DNA from a second member, it suggested he had been shot as he tried to flee the scene. A third member of the Burnley-based organised crime gang suffered a significant head wound after being attacked with a machete-type weapon. The operation saw officers disrupting the activity throughout the east of the country by acting on intelligence to target properties and individuals linked to cannabis cultivation and taxings and seize cannabis crops and weapons before rival groups can get to them. Following the violence, 3 members of the Manchester-based organised crime gang left the scene in a BMW 3 Series. However, one of the cars used by them in the disorder the BMW estate was so badly damaged it was unable to be driven away. Zeka, who was stranded in Burnley, contacted a defendant, Mazhar Shah, to collect him in his Mitsubishi Evo and return to South Manchester. At around 4 o'clock in the morning of February the 4th, Shah and his defendant, Ghulam Rauf, travelled from Cheetham Hill to Burnley, where they were captured on CCTV, setting the stranded BMW estate alight. On July the 13th last year, Lancashire Police and Greater Manchester Police worked together to execute 18 simultaneous warrants, where the defendants were subsequently arrested. Zeka was arrested the following day at a hotel in London. When Glaber was arrested, they found a handwritten note and other documents linked to growing cannabis inside his Oldham home. The fingerprints of the defendant Andreas Zekikas was also found on some of these documents. Glaber's mobile phone was examined and contained images of cannabis grows. When Bitter was arrested, they found £14,000 in cash. Officers also found a wooden chair leg which had been shaped into a weapon. Following a trial at Preston Crown Court, 5 of the defendants were found guilty of criminal activity undertaken on behalf of the Manchester-based OCG. They are Besim Zeka. He was found guilty of conspiracy to cause GBH with intent, conspiracy to possess a firearm with intent to endanger life, conspiracy to supply a controlled drug of Class B. He was jailed for 17 years. Elion Glaver. He was found guilty of conspiracy to cause GBH with intent, conspiracy to possess a firearm with intent to endanger life, and conspiracy to supply a controlled drug of Class B. He was jailed for 19.5 years. Ibrahim Beledi from Oldham. He was found guilty of conspiracy to cause GBH with intent, conspiracy to possess a firearm with intent to endanger life, and conspiracy to supply a controlled drug of Class B. He was jailed for 17 years. Andon Bitter from Manchester, found guilty of conspiracy to cause GBH with intent, conspiracy to possess a firearm with intent to endanger life, and conspiracy to supply a controlled drug of Class B, and conspiracy to possess criminal property. He was jailed for 17 years. Mazhar Shah from Manchester. He was found guilty of assisting an offender. He pleaded guilty to perverting the course of justice, which included the arson, and he was jailed for 3 years. Ghulam Rao from Prestwich. He got done for perverting the course of justice, which included the arson. Now, I don't know how long he got, because on the Lancashire Constabulary page, it says he got jailed for 27 years, but I believe that's fucking a typo or something. There's Murtaza Ahmad. He was conspiracy to supply a controlled drug of Class B and conspiracy to possess criminal property. He was jailed for 4.5 years. Andreas Zekikas, conspiracy to supply a controlled drug of Class B and conspiracy to possess criminal property. He was jailed for 4.5 years. Passing sentence, Judge Philip Parry commended the outstanding quality of the investigation of the police, individually commending all the officers involved by name. Absolute madness, guys. So Detective Superintendent Nick Connaughton from the East Division said, the truly appalling violence that took place in the early hours of February the 4th, 2021 was completely unacceptable. People have their own views on cannabis and whether or not it should be legalized, which is their prerogative. However, this case highlights the sheer levels of violence associated with cannabis cultivation and the extreme lengths organized crime gangs are prepared to go in order to protect their commodity. It is more through luck than judgment that nobody was killed or an innocent bystander wasn't seriously hurt. I am pleased with the sentences handed down to these individuals, and I hope it sends out a clear message that this kind of violence, although rare, will not be tolerated on the streets of East Lancashire. If you do choose to engage in this behaviour, then you should expect to be arrested, prosecuted, and put behind bars for a significant period of time. He also went on to say, I would like to praise all the officers involved in this investigation, both Lancashire Police and Greater Manchester Police, for their painstaking work, professionalism, and dedication. From multiple scenes of destruction, they have managed to unravel the inner workings and identify the members of a dangerous organised crime gang and secure some significant sentences. I'd also like to thank our colleagues from the Crown Prosecution Service and our counsel, James Glesthorpe and Richard Holland. So, guy, that cop was actually right there. These guys are lucky to be alive, the ones that went to rob the crop. A few days ago, I reported on that story from Wales, Thomas Wagger. Again, I'll put the link in the description below to that video, you can check it out. And in that case, 4 men are accused of beating him to death and dumping his body in the road because he went to rob their cannabis. And when he was found dead on the streets, he had received injuries to his head and mouth, his ribs, arms, and bruising to the brain. And it's believed that him and his pals, they travelled from London all the way to Wales to rob the plants, which were worth up to £120,000. Absolute madness, guys. It's your boy GT. Keep it locked, keep it real.